Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I imagine all my American friends got a belly full of turkey and pumpkin pie, and I hope it was a good holiday. So don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's a great way to help out the channel. Another great way is to check out the link in the description for my merchandise. Go ahead and get yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie. Promise you'll be looking good this Christmas. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's see what we got today, guys. We are live.
This is what it felt like to get buried alive in Pompeii. You're gonna want to stick around for this one, Jimmy boy. Pompeii was a city in ancient Rome right beside this big-ass volcano you're seeing called Mount Vesuvius. Great place for a city, right? And one day in 79 AD, it just decided to go off on these mans, erupting in volcanic ash which rained down on everyone in the city. What happened next ended up preserving everything in the city. Buildings, food, people, and even the emotions on their face. This is the last thing you would have ever seen if you were there.
Alright, let's see where this goes.
The 19th greatest fact of all time, is that if you were in Pompeii for the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, when the volcano so perfectly encased its victims that we can read their final facial expressions, not only could you have survived the volcano, but your safest course of action would have been to run toward it. Don't believe me? The eruption began around 10 a.m. that morning, and initially, ash just fell on Pompeii like snow. Some people took cover, but that was a mistake. Later that afternoon, a gas cloud hot enough to melt lead rolled through Pompeii. And this isn't glass or obsidian. It's a piece of vitrified brain found in Pompeii. And it's what happens when your brain is hit by a gas cloud hot enough to melt lead. So, you need to run. You couldn't run east because mountains block your escape, and you couldn't go west because the wind and waves were against you. You could try to escape to the south, but because the wind blew that direction that morning, that's where archaeologists have found most of the bodies, including the body of Pliny the Elder, who died here in Stabia after trying to sail there to rescue people. So instead, your safest course of action is actually to run here to Herculaneum and then all the way to Naples. It's about 13 miles and you have about 5 hours. So stay hydrated and you should be fine. And if you want instructions on how to survive more ancient disasters, check out my book that just came out. And thanks for watching.
So it almost seems like they were kind of trapped.
The people of Pompeii, preserved in their death throes from almost 2,000 years ago.
Fascinating. So all those doubting, those petrified giants and stuff.
These are the boat sheds of Herculaneum, and they contain the 300 victims that were killed in the eruption of Vesuvius in AD 79. It's probably one of the most humbling experiences in real life to stand here where these people last lay and see their bodies in person. Many of them are hugging for comfort. Some have their mouths open in fear. And this is how they were last when the pyroclastic flow hit them. Now this was getting up to 300 degrees Celsius. It's an incredibly hot heat that was hitting them. And it's a hot flow of ash and air coming down the volcano at incredible speeds. There was absolutely nothing that they could have done about it. They were hiding inside these boat sheds, waiting to be rescued by the boats that were coming in from the sea. Now, where I'm standing now is on the beach of Herculaneum. It looks exactly as it would have then. It was black sand at the time. Now, Pliny the Elder, who was a Roman historian, sent out his boats because he was in charge of a boat fleet, and they came to help. Now, on the beach, we have found many soldiers that were trying to rescue the people inside these boat sheds before it was too late. Unfortunately, that would never happen, and they weren't rescued in time. The pyroclastic flow hit them, and they were cooked alive inside an oven of their own making.
It's interesting stuff.
This behind me is one of the greatest indicators of just how devastating the eruption of Mount Vesuvius was. This is some 12 meters high worth of volcanic material, of ash, and we are at the city of Herculaneum, the ancient Roman town of Herculaneum, just beneath Mount Vesuvius.
Herculaneum was completely destroyed, eviscerated, when Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. Where I'm standing now is the ancient sea level. Over there, you have what they call the boat houses. They discovered the remains of a wooden boat here, and lots of people, the remains skeletons, partial skeletons of people who it seems to be they were seeking shelter here, hoping to ride the storm of this great eruption in 79 AD. But alas, that would not save them, because surge after surge, pyroclastic flow after flow reached Herculaneum. The city was completely buried in volcanic material, and this behind me is the great extent of it. Herculaneum was completely covered, and it was only discovered by accident when a farmer was digging in this area of the world. He was digging a well, and when he pulled the bucket up, there was marble remains there too. And hey presto, they started uncovering the ancient city of Herculaneum. But if you want to get a sense of the sheer scale of the material that came down from Mount Vesuvius, then go nowhere else than Herculaneum and look at this wall of tufa behind me, which once again shows how no one living in Herculaneum who hadn't escaped before these surges came crashing down on the city, no one escaped alive.
Now imagine something like that on a world scale.
Imagine taking a souvenir from your vacation only to have it ruin your life. Welcome to the curse of Pompeii, where free rocks come with a hefty price tag. Pompeii, the ancient Roman city frozen in time by a volcanic eruption, it's a tragic tale, right? Well, for some tourists, the tragedy follows them home. It started with a string of letters sent to Pompeii officials. The message? Take back your rocks, they're cursed. One tourist wrote, I took a piece of marble. Since then, I've had financial problems, family issues, and 3 car accidents. Talk about bad luck. Another thief returned the roof tiles with a note, please take them back, they've brought nothing but trouble. Guess those tiles weren't so lucky after all. But here's the kicker. It's not just a few isolated cases. Hundreds of packages arrive each year, all containing souvenirs and pleas for forgiveness. One Canadian woman returned 5 packages claiming the artifacts caused her breast cancer. After returning them, she went into remission. A Spanish man said his family was cursed to death after he pocketed some mosaic tiles. Dark stuff. Skeptics say it's just guilt and superstition, but when a stolen artifact was returned to Pompeii in 2020, COVID cases in Italy started to decline. Coincidence? Pompeii officials have created a museum of returned artifacts, each with its own tale of woe. They call it the Museum of Cursed Returns. Scientists argue it's impossible for rocks to be cursed, but with thousands of similar stories, you've got to wonder, what if? So next time you're tempted to pocket a piece of history, remember, in Pompeii, the real cost of your free souvenir might be more than you bargained for. If you like videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. That stuff really helps the channel out.
You know, that's one problem with scientists, is they never consider the spiritual.
Now, this particular area near Vesuvius is thought to be a portal to hell. Like around the Phlegraean fields, there's this thing called the tunnels at Baiae. They found these tunnels, and it was reportedly the place that this Cumaean Sibyl most likely lived. And so these archaeologists started going in there. They removed all of the rubble. There was a bunch of rubble in these tunnels, and eventually got to a place where there was like a boiling river and a landing for a boat. The river Styx, bro. There's 2 major stories from history that call that specific area the gateway to the underworld, and one of them is a story recounting the Cumaean Sibyl bringing Ioannis, I think his name is, down into the underworld to visit his father, and he enters there through the river Styx. The other story that we have is Hercules actually fought the Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of hell, in that area as one of his labors.
Wow.
What was the 3-headed hound of hell doing in that area if not to protect a portal to the underworld?
Interesting stuff. Noted.
I'm in Pompeii, just on the edge of excavations that you're not allowed to take pictures in. So I want to just show you this. Look at these columns. This one is still underneath the ash, and the other ones to the left of it have been dug out. I'm high above this area, And this all below my feet here, below everywhere here, will contain finds, artifacts.
Wonder how much history is under that.
You never die. You need to prepare for life after death. If you die with mental addictions to lust, food, and power, you will reincarnate. You need to detach from all worldly pleasures. This is why the Bible says, do not love this world nor the things it offers you. When you die, you go into the astral plane. This is the realm of imagination. This is where thought forms manifest into things. When you die with mental addictions to the worldly things, you will be manifested as a demon in the lower astral planes. In the physical plane, you can cover this up. But in the astral, you will manifest whatever you think. The 7 deadly sins are 7 internal states that make you reincarnate after death. Society is molded so that you get addicted to materialism so that you reincarnate. The life and death cycle is manifested every single day, with day and night, or even the winter. Everything dies in the winter and then is born again in the summer. This is a microcosm of life and death. Physical is phi cycle. Phi is the torus field. The torus field creates physical matter. It's the cycle of the torus field. The link is in the bio for the Book of Wisdom PDF. The physical versions will be available on January the 8th in paperback and hardcover.
It's an interesting perspective, and let's see where else this goes.
When you look into reincarnation, you discover something that the ancients knew. In a lot of cases, you come back with no memories, and as you grow consciously over time, coming back over and over again, you begin to realize you can regain or access some of those memories. So some people become what they call adept initiates. That's what Thoth called them in the Emerald Tablets. I wrote about this in my book, and he's talking about having the ability to come back with the memories and also to incarnate at will. He says he can even incarnate on any dimension that he desires.
Wow.
So he's gotten to that level. So there seems to be levels to the game, but in the startup level, it seems like a person has to keep coming back over and over again, but they seem to in some ways get more mature in different areas as they continue to come back. It's almost like a way of teaching somebody to become better and higher knowledge without giving them any kind of clue and kind of almost letting them find their way. So it's an experiment.
Yeah.
And I think that the grand experiment is how many souls can rise to that higher level of consciousness to get to a higher dimension.
Okay.
And what seems to be happening is that when you first die, your consciousness becomes expansive, and they travel at the speed of thought. And so this is just happening as they've died, and they're just recalibrating and understanding their new abilities as a sovereign soul. And what happens every time? A deceased relative, or a spirit guide, or an angel, or Jesus Christ, or Buddha. And so what these near-death experiences will experience is whatever type of being that would have the most influence on them appears. A 15-foot Jesus appears to a Christian, and then starts showing them a life review of their entire life, picking specific areas, usually that have to do with fear, guilt, or shame. And that's what happens in these transitional spaces with these beings of light. They're always pointing out these areas where you didn't do the best, and then giving you the opportunity to reincarnate. And ultimately, it's always getting you to consent to going back into the light and then getting reincarnated into a new body. What always goes along with that is the memory wipe. And this is so contrary to what they're saying, because they say that, oh, life is a school, oh, it's all about karma, oh, this world, all the negative stuff is so you can learn and grow from it.
How can you remember it?
How can you grow if you can't remember it? Exactly. It's more like they are harnessing some type of energy that, or our souls, our consciousness, they want us here, when in reality, once we leave this body, we become way more powerful. It's like our real being is intangible. It's an immortal soul, and we're being tricked to coming into this body in this subpar realm, this subpar dimension ruled by evil psychopaths. And even when we die, we get tricked to coming back in here rather than exploring the potentially infinite multiverse of much better dimensions that are most likely out there.
Alright, so here are what some common birthmarks could tell you about your past life. I'm not saying that any of this is 100% true, I'm simply just presenting this information to y'all. So it's said that if you're albino or if you have freckles, those may indicate where you've been burned in a past life, because it's said that fire leaves its mark on the skin forever. This may mean that you have fire karma that you need to heal from in your past lives. So apparently if you have a white birthmark like I have, this is the body's way of remembering a fire that you may have already healed from. The lighter the mark, the more the wound has been healed karmically. However, there are still lessons to learn from this wound. It's said that birthmarks like this is an unhealed bullet wound and may be a sign that you were shot in your past life. It's said that a birthmark or a mole on your ear may be a sign of good fortune and suggests high IQ and quick thinking. If it's on both ears, this may show that the person may be very influential in their life and very successful and comfortable. Apparently, a birthmark on the nose stands for sexual desire and quick temper. Moles on the center of the nose are bad signs. But have y'all noticed when witches are depicted like this, they always have a mole on their nose? Is that why? Anyways, I'm running out of time and there's actually a lot more, so let me know if you guys would like a part 3.
Well, food for thought.
Every single person you've ever known and ever will know was you. Well, at least according to the egg theory. The egg was a story posted online in 2009. The story features two characters, a 48-year-old man and God. The man has passed away due to a car accident and has come face to face with God. God tells this man that he's about to be reincarnated, but not in the future, but rather in the 5th century as a Chinese girl. Every single time he passes away in one of his lives, he's going to be reincarnated in another time period. And so at some point he would have reincarnated as everybody that has ever lived. In this story, God also reveals that there are deities aside from God that exist, and the universe is essentially an egg for each of these deities. You will keep reincarnating until you are ready to emerge and become a god.
This is by far my favorite story. I've said that like 8 times. This is Nancy Rhines. She was hit by a car while riding a bike and had a near-death experience that completely flipped her worldview. Her consciousness split. One part of her stayed in her body and the other part was watching peacefully from about 50 feet away and explaining that this was okay, it was meant to happen. In the hospital while under anesthesia, she was surprised to find herself waking up in a meadow. She thought she must be dead. That she wondered why she wasn't in hell because her Catholic upbringing said atheists went to hell. A voice from all around her answered, "This is your home. You're a part of this and you belong here." Then a woman approached her and told her that she was going to teach her some things that were going to help her on Earth. She did not want to go back, but the woman told her she had already agreed to. In front of her, the woman showed a scene of her before coming to Earth agreeing to all these experiences. The woman showed Nancy that she knew she was likely going to lose touch with any sort of spirituality and that she was going to have about 3 shots to reconnect to it, and the 3rd was the accident. Then she was taken to a place where souls who have left Earth come to decompress and reflect on their lives, and they did it in an environment that was comfortable for them. So for her it was like nature with mountains and rivers. But eventually she was forcefully shoved back into her body. She was screaming, "Where are my friends?" when she got back. The nurses thought she meant her friends in the waiting room. Follow and repost because I'm going to make a lot more of them. Thank you.
I'll have to look into this interview.
If the thought of your own death isn't horrifying enough, consider that scientists are now saying that you actually will be aware that you're dead for up to 20 seconds. For several decades, scientists have been studying people who claim to have near-death experiences. Whether you believe them or not, they're studying them and finding out more about what actually happens in the brain as death takes over. Approximately 5% of dying patients and 10% of cardiac arrest patients describe having near-death experiences where they float above their bodies, they see a white light, they travel through a tunnel, they see lost loved ones. Some people say that this proves that there is an afterlife, and other people say that it proves that there's something neurological going on. So scientists have been studying rats. They stopped their hearts and checked their brain waves and found that their brain was flooded with a ton of electrical current. Some people think that that explains the white light and the tunnel and the falling and the sort of psychedelic experiences that happen to people, but there is no proof because obviously we don't know what a rat is seeing in their mind. Having a near-death experience is there's a chemical reaction going on in your brain. Some people have attributed it to what they call DMT. There is no proof that the levels of DMT in your brain actually increase at the point of death. But they have done research comparing the experiences of people who've had near-death experiences and people who've had psychedelic trips on ketamine or on DMT, and they find that they are quite similar. And the word that people most often use to describe these things is reality, which is interesting. What we do know is that at the point of death, there's a huge surge of neural activity in your brain. Whether or not we know that we're dead is not 100% certain, but there are many people who have had near-death experiences and have heard their own death announced by a surgeon or by a family member, which is pretty fucking wild and I think absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that'd be some pretty trippy shit.
Earth is a prison planet. This theory, first proposed by ecologist Dr. Ellis Silver, claims that humans did not originate from Earth, but were alternatively exiled to this planet tens or hundreds of thousands of years ago by an alien race. To support this theory, Dr. Silver states, mankind is supposedly the most highly developed species on the planet, yet is surprisingly unsuited and ill-equipped for Earth's environment. Humans are harmed by sunlight, have a strong dislike for naturally occurring foods, ridiculously high rates of chronic disease, and many more situations. Humans must have been imprisoned on Earth either for a crime that our ancestors might have committed. A possible example could be the Garden of Eden, the forbidden fruit in the Bible, being surviving remnants of a story of the original crime humanity may have committed. Or our imprisonment was due to humans being a naturally violent species.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I went too deep. Have you heard of the prison planet theory?
Yeah, actually, Buddhists believe that that's where we're at. Except in Buddhism, it is called samsara. And samsara is the realm or multiple realms that we are born into again and again and again. Reincarnation, baby. Now, if you're watching this, then you're fortunate because you are born in the human realm. And if you are in the human realm, then you have the opportunity to escape samsara. So, how do we escape the prison planet? By doing nothing. Literally nothing, but like deeper. I mean nothing by not reacting. Because in Buddhism, the whole goal is to end your own suffering. And when you end your own suffering, you escape samsara. You ever noticed why the Buddha is always smiling? It's because he's not suffering. He's literally doing nothing. And what I mean by doing nothing is not reacting and accepting life as it comes. So the quickest and easiest way to escape the prison planet is to not participate in the reactions, to not participate in feeling the negative energy that the reptilians feed off of. I'm not saying that's what Buddhists believe, but that's what this previous creator is talking about. I'm just kind of connecting the two. Now, this takes practice, but if you can do this, you will become an arahant, which is pretty much the same as becoming a Buddha, but it's a little bit different. So yeah, you want to escape the matrix, you want to escape the prison planet, don't participate. I kind of look at it like becoming a homesteader and just like leaving society, except you're leaving this place in the mind. You're not participating in the negative experiences. I'll leave you with the first quote in the Dhammapada from the Buddha. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. Your mind is the predecessor to how you feel and what you experience in your life. You want to escape prison theory, you want to escape samsara, you want to escape the matrix, focus on the mind.
It's an interesting concept. The guy before him, though, the reason I don't agree with that is because I do think we are suited for this planet, and I do think that this is where we belong. I just think the people who are in control have made it so inhospitable and so poisonous that they've completely hijacked our home from us, and that's why essentially it's turning on us. But that's just my opinion. So that's a pretty good introduction to reincarnation and some of the theories around it, the egg theory, the prison planet theory, and then just reincarnation. We'll try to get into a little more of it as we go. As always, we kind of ease into these subjects. So I'd like to hear what you guys think. Go ahead and leave a comment. We'll get into it and we'll discuss. But that's going to do it for me this week, guys. I will be back on Monday with another video. And until then, 80 Canadian, signing off.